Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Happy Monday, everyone, and hopefully you are doing okay after the first Sunday in the National Football League. Nielsen and Hustler back with you again, Monday episode of The Lock Shop presented to you by Coolbet. All you cool bettors hopping on board with the Lock Shop parlay. 1-0, we hit it, plus 250, nice little boost over there, and got the message from Patty, who's going to join us a little bit later on today. He goes, you guys killed us with the Lock Shop parlay. I was just like, good to know we stuck it to the book. Book.
That's what we're here for, people. Shout out to everyone that rode in week one. We'll hopefully have a nice encore for you coming up in week two. We will get to some Monday night picks later on. I know Pat's going to join us, but yeah, man. Overall, incredible weekend yesterday. And just before we dive into NFL, Saturday here in the Peg, you were here for that game between the Bombers and Riders. I mean, listen, it was a beatdown. The Bombers dropped a 50 burger on them. But I mean, just as far as events and atmospheres go, I got to tell you, I don't think there was many NFL games that were as electric as the CFL game here. That was just so much fun from 2 hours before kickoff till the end. It was
at that level, man. It must have been. I mean, the Rum Hut area is always shoulder to shoulder. It's insane, but I mean, the seats were looking pretty full, but it must have been 5-6 deep all around the concourse trying to watch that game. It was insane.
It was a buzz everywhere in the city. And I mean, we hooked up on Friday night and just went and had a couple together and popping by. And I mean, it did seem like everyone we talked to was going to the game. People were talking about it. And would just love to be able to bottle that and maybe give a taste of that to some of the other markets in the Canadian Football League, because that was such an absolutely fun day. And obviously it got us ready for our first full NFL Sunday. And listen, man, week one did not disappoint. We had some crazy upsets. It was I always say week one is a graveyard. Just wanted to squeeze by and not get killed too much. And we held on. And obviously the best part about it, as you mentioned, the Saints with that crazy comeback. We want to talk about that. That was a real nail biter. And then the Chiefs and Chargers both taking care of business for us in the late games to start it off at 1-0 and cash that plus 250 parlay for the peeps.
Yeah, very big for that first parlay. I mean, as far as our individual bets go on Friday, Bengals screwed me. I did not expect Joe Burrow to throw 4 interceptions in that game. Highly doubt that happens again. The Saints ended up saving the parlay, but didn't help me on my original pick there as well. I did hit the Ravens and the San Francisco 49ers. Ugh. Gross. Conditions obviously not great either, so they killed me as well. Huss, you ended up, you hit the Vikings? That was good. And what was the other one you hit?
Hit the Vikings, and God bless your Lions with that incredible backdoor cover. 2 fourth quarter
Nothing
touchdowns.
Like a good backdoor cover, buddy.
Yeah, they were down by 17. I didn't give up on the Lions. They didn't give up, and they may have lost the game, but they covered the spread for their backers. So yeah, escaped with it. I thought I might get lucky. I mean, Carolina had an incredible opportunity, not just to win that game, but to cover. The series down close to the goal line was not a good one. They ended up kicking the field goal, and then, Cleveland gets a couple dink and dunk plays and then blasts a 57-yarder to win. Now, that wouldn't have mattered with the spread because it was 1.5 and Carolina was only up by 1, but they really should have put it in for a touchdown, to be honest, and not had to worry about it. But overall, 2-2. The one bet that I did tweet out yesterday that I hit pretty hard that I was quite happy I did was Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns. And Pat's going to come on a little later on. Pat tweeted out a picture of what Mahomes was wearing going in. And I immediately responded, can I get a number on over 4.5? And I wish I got that number on 4.5 because that one would have cashed as well. The Chiefs, for anyone that was doubting Mahomes, anyone that was doubting Kansas City as a team that was going to be a problem in the AFC this year, well, I hope they watched that game yesterday because I've been talking about the revenge tour this year. And I know Josh Allen was brilliant on Thursday night. Well, Patrick Mahomes was as well. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, October 16th.
Is that when it happens?
Today, Chiefs Bills already put the countdown on it right now. I'm sure that one will be in prime time. I haven't checked it, but But yeah, overall, there were some great performances, but also some ugly ones. If we want to talk about the word, I mean, I don't know how if you have many Cowboys fans in your circle,
Ooh,
but
no,
they're
not many.
in a dark place right now.
Oh.
And they should be. They still have Mike McCarthy as their head coach. Dak is now
That's
out
concern number one
weeks.
to me. Like the
Oh.
Dak injury is one thing, but you don't want Mike McCarthy calling those shots, man. Come on.
Well, tell me about it. And listen, I mean, I guess this is, I mean, I know we'll probably get to this a lot more on tomorrow's edition for the fantasy football extravaganza on the Lock Shop, but I'm not even sure CeeDee Lamb is a quality number one receiver. Like, we talked a lot about like Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp, but I mean, everyone knows the ball's going to these guys, and yet they get open. I didn't see a lot from CeeDee Lamb doing that in the game. And now that he doesn't have the help that he had in the past, tell you what, I'm sort of feeling good.
This concerns me. I've got a lot of CeeDee Lamb in my leagues. I'm a little concerned this morning, buddy. I'm not going to lie.
Well, not to mention, it's going to be Cooper Rush throwing the football for the next 6-7 weeks right now in Dallas. That was kind of crazy. And remember, I was mentioning we kind of took a few of those long shot division picks. Brian Daboll and the New York Giants with a bit of a shocking road upset. By the way, anyone watching right now, if you're still in your survivor pool, congratulations. Because I honestly think like in the circa, the big one, I think just about half the people are out. I mean, if you had
on the Niners,
you're out. If you and I mean, my God, if you had the Bengals, you're done. And if you had Indianapolis, you're done because we had a tie in that game, and we just about had 2 ties if Pittsburgh didn't hit that last-second field goal. Some ugly, ugly kicking on the weekend.
Oh, kickers. I mean, I don't even want to spend time on kickers. This is the exact reason that in the majority of the fantasy leagues I'm in, we don't even draft kickers anymore. Like, kickers are too hit and miss. It's too much of a mess. From a betting perspective, it's an absolute nightmare, especially when they have the week that they had in week 1. And we were kind of talking about it on our last episode on Saturday, I guess there us of Lock Shop MVPs and Lock Shop public enemies. And there's 2 guys that jump off the page for me here. Public enemy number 1 for me, at least this first week, was Joe Burrow throwing the 4 interceptions. That one absolutely killed me. I had the Bengals on a bunch of different tickets, even on some money line tickets and parlays, and that one stung big time. And I get it. I mean, he still put up over 300 yards and everything, but come on. I mean, how in the world do you throw 4 interceptions? But my Lock Shock MVP is a guy definitely worth talking about, and that's Jameis Winston leading the Saints back to save the partner parlay. 17 points in the fourth quarter of that game. I think he was over 200 yards and 2 touchdowns to Michael Thomas in the fourth quarter of that football game. Needed that one. My overall biggest, usually every week, on top of all of my other, our player props and spread picks and all that, usually every week, my biggest bet is just a 2-game money line parlay that puts me on plus money side of things. And I had the Ravens and Saints. It paid like plus 120 or something. And the Ravens are taking care of business. And I'm watching Jameis, and I'm like, not in week 1, man. He can't have the biggest ticket leave in week 1. And he ended up coming back and saving the day for me. So Jameis Winston, you're my Lock Shop MVP in week 1, buddy.
Well, I think it's pretty clear who my Lock Shop MVP is, although I'll throw 2 out. One is Patrick Mahomes, and get used to it, people. I might just get the cool bet to give me a number on an more touchdowns, like a 2.5, 3.5 Mahomes over every week. If he looks like he does this week on Sunday, and of course every weapon being used by the Kansas City Chiefs. But Justin Jefferson, I mean, listen, not only did I have the Vikings, and that was a big, big pick to get to 500 and escape, at the median coming out, but I mean, he is just an absolute phenom. And I'm looking at what he finished with 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. I will admit, I mean, we did our pool with the listeners the other day, and sorry about that. We did our.
You took him in the third, right?
The other day, overall, I took him 3rd overall, and then I saw what Cooper Kupp did in an underwhelming performance for the Rams on Thursday. I'm like, oh, I hope Justin Jefferson has a big game. Well, he certainly did. And Kevin O'Connell was the OC in LA. It seems like they have almost created an offense designed to put Justin Jefferson in that Cooper Kupp role. Everything is done to isolate him, give him space to put the ball in his hands and make plays. And he did that, averaging over 20 yards a carry in that game. And I will say this, just an aside about the Minnesota game. It was on at the same time as the Chiefs Arizona game. So I was watching that game with sound. Every single time I turned over to the Vikings Packer game, Fox was showing a pissed off Aaron Rodgers. The different facial expressions he had is showing anger, disgust. You could have an incredible reel for a good video editor from that game yesterday. And I got to tell you, I mean, we thought that, maybe this would take a little bit of time to get going. But for Christian Watson to drop what would have been a sure touchdown on the first play of the game was a bad, bad omen for the Cheeseheads. And it'll be interesting to see how they can bounce back after a big win. And we said that game for the Vikings was so important, a home game against the Packers. They got it right off the bat. A nice start for the new era in the Twin Cities.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Pat Gregoire is going to pop by in just a little bit. We will get to our Monday night picks. We might as well dive into the Monday night picks. Well, actually, no, there are a few more things that I want to hit on. Think of Tampa Bay last night, buddy. I mean, we know Dallas, a little bit of a train wreck, but Tampa, I mean, defensively they played well, but offensively, not much going on there for Tampa last night.
No, it was not a very crisp performance. Luckily, they were going up against the Cowboys, who did absolutely nothing. Listen, the one guy that really impressed me, and I've told you before, I'm not big on him. Well, speaking of big, he looked like he's about 40 pounds heavier at the beginning of camp than what he is right now, is Leonard Fournette. And
good.
I guess you just have to respect Tom Brady and respect the passing of the Bucs so much that, maybe you're going to have those opportunities. But, man, Lenny was in fine form, midseason or playoff form, if you will, usually when he steps up. I thought he was really, really good. And, it was a little concerning. Godwin was out early after the game. I mean, Mike Evans was definitely a factor. And Julio Jones looked good, too. I mean, that one long pass that he stretched out to get, he still got it. So, listen, I'm not worried about the Bucs offense at all. And I think, if anything, the way that they held the Cowboys down was impressive, but they're certainly going to need to be better in the red zone, because that game should not have been a 16-point game. I mean, they should have run away with that game, and it wasn't the case. I would say the same thing about the New England Patriots and the Dolphins.
That's true.
Listen, I was on the Patriots plus 3.5. That game finished 20-7. If Tua was a little more accurate, ironically, that could have been a 30-point game. I hated the Patriots game, and maybe all of the predictions that this was going to finally be the season where we see some real regression in New England is real, because they once again, they've had a real tough time with the Miami Dolphins post Tom Brady. I think Bill Belichick's now 3-8 against the Dolphins without Brady, and they were never really in that football game yesterday.
All right, let's transition over. Well, we'll get into Monday night. We'll recap Sunday a little bit here with Pat Gregoire as well. I find him on Twitter at @PGreggy. Busy weekend for him. He had the NFL draft on the go, and then obviously a long day of football on Sunday. And, I'd like to apologize kind of on behalf of all of the Lock Shop Partner Parlay listeners for hopping in and destroying Cool Bay yesterday. Patty, how are you, buddy? Can't hear you. Huss, can you hear him?
Hold on, yeah. No, I can't. We got to get Pat unmuted.
Yeah, I think you're muted, Patty. Let's see if you can.
That could be something that often happens, like when I come in. Maybe it's.
You guys got me now?
There we go. We got you now. We got you. Yeah, we got you.
What before you couldn't hear me. I guess I it's like I haven't done this enough. You'd think I'd figure it out, but exhausted. It was a long day of just laying down on my couch. My Apple Watch was screaming at me to get up and walk. Like, you know what? Like, leave me alone, man. It's Sunday. This is what it's for, right? So, but no, in all honesty, it was awesome. The rush of witching hour in between the 1 p.m. and the 4 p.m. games, like oh my God. It definitely wasn't the prettiest football, but sometimes the ugly football, like, produces the best action for bettors, and that's exactly what it was yesterday. But to build off what you were saying about your partner parlay, I might not have a job if you guys continue to hammer on all these winners, because it was another big cash. Shout out to all the Lock Shopaholics for hammering that as well. It was a very, very popular ticket, and for good reason, because it cashed.
Well, that was wonderful. We had to sweat that one out. I wasn't feeling too good about the Saints midway through the third quarter, but got it done. And then the late games were. And Pat, the one that we were talking on Twitter yesterday beforehand, my guy Mahomes, he looked like he's ready to, to maybe remind everyone that the Chiefs are still a good team. I really wish I'd been a little more aggressive with trying to get that over 5.5 touchdown line, because that one came through too. But a lot of folks I know jumped on. And by the way, another reason why we love CoolBet, I was at the bar with a bunch of guys, told them, hey, I'm on Mahomes, 2.5 touchdowns, plus 140, get over it. And they were looking at a couple other books, and it was like minus 104. So shout out to CoolBet for consistently having the best odds. And shout out to everyone that got it. I'm just glad you and Jake are still gainfully employed right now, despite what transpired yesterday.
Yeah, it was definitely, again, you know what, but you guys talked about already some crazy upsets. So certainly the book's doing just fine this morning. But, but of course, I think that kind of just makes for such an interesting week one. And it is difficult for these bookmakers to, make these lines. But because we don't really know too much about some of these offense, some of these new coaches. So it is difficult. If you're up right now, that's awesome. But as you guys know, it usually works its way around where the public gets back down to reality. But, for myself, had a great day betting yesterday. I had an awesome college Saturday. So I'm thinking, again, something's got to give at some point. There's no way I can stay this hot right now.
Ride it while you can, man. Ride it while you can. That's when the going's good, you got to make hay. It's simple as that. Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of ride it, you know what tonight is?
Oh.
Broncos country. Let's ride. Let's ride.
Patty, what are you thinking, buddy? What do you like? What do you like tonight? What are you going with? You said you've been a little red hot lately. What? Hus and I are going to give our picks when we're done with you. What are you doing tonight?
Well, I think anytime it's a primetime game, you've got to get some action. I usually like to pick a side. This one to me just screams a trap. I think the Broncos are a way better team. It's a revenge game for Russell Wilson. Geno Smith is the other quarterback, but I think the 12th man is going to be all sorts of fired up. That's going to come into play. I just cannot justify picking a side here because it feels so trappy. But at the same time, if I bet Seattle plus 6.5 with Geno Smith and how bad I really do think this team is going to be, I'm not going to be able to forgive myself. So I'm looking at some props. I love Russ Wilson over 12.5 rushing yards. I think that should be way higher.
That's a good
one. I'm probably going to sprinkle, some touchdown scorer props as well. Noah Fant, just looking off that at plus 275. I really, really like that number. Jerry Jeudy at plus 130 for an anytime touchdown as well. But if you are on the hype train of the Broncos and Russ Wilson and you want to let's ride, well, we have the Let Russ Cook parlay right now in our CoolBet exclusives. Russell Wilson to have 3+ passing TDs, over 275 passing yards, and a Broncos win. Put that all together at CoolBet, you're getting plus 520. So worth a little sprinkle. It's a big number. I know those are big numbers as well. But if you think Russ is coming into his old building and going to blow the doors off the Seahawks, why not take this bet?
Oh, I don't mind that at all. I think, you kind of laid it out. I've heard a lot of people suggesting that Seattle is going to be right in this football game. It's going to be really close. I can't get away from the fact that I fully expect Seattle to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. And Geno Smith is their quarterback, and Russell Wilson's coming in on prime time to the place where he played his entire career. I mean, I'm here for the conversation on it. I just don't think I can get on Seattle.
And just one thing, you mentioned primetime Russell Wilson. I believe I saw this morning that he's 26-14-3 against the spread in his career in primetime games. And you put that in the fact he's with a new team, a team that has very high expectations to be a much improved team. He's got the weapons on offense. That defense is stout. So the only thing that's really stopping us from betting is the storyline that Seattle's going to be all sorts of jacked up to play this game close. And it's 6.5. It's within a touchdown. So the more I talk about it, the more I find myself saying, forget all the noise and just ride with the better team. But in the back of my head, it just that number, for whatever reason, makes me feel like it's going to come down to a field goal. And speaking of field goal, it's a primetime game. A personal bet of mine that, despite how much I want to kill kickers right now in the game, in whatever brand of football, whether it's college or NFL, I always take the over on the field goals. I think it's plus 130 right now on CoolBet for over 3.5. That one cashed in the first half last night. I mean, mind you, the offensive play that we saw last night in the first half was despicable. I think it's going to be a little bit better here on the Broncos side, but I don't see the ball moving too much on the Seahawks. So I like over 3.5, especially you're getting that plus money as well.
Hey, speaking of that game last night, I mean, if we look back at Sunday and if we had to do some misery rankings, is the Cowboys Nation number one on that power poll, Pat?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you guys nailed it. Mike McCarthy, that is the thing that, sure, it sucks that Dak's out for a while and, you're getting CD Lamb, who's underperforming. The defense looked solid, but I was actually texting my buddies in a group chat where we usually throw our bets around. And I, after that first drive, after a few plays, I was like, oh man, like Dallas, maybe this is the year that Dallas is good. And then they showed a cut to the sidelines and Mike McCarthy's stupid face. And I was like, nope, never mind. These guys are going to suck. And boy, did they look like they are going to suck once again. It just, I don't feel bad for Cowboys fans because they're insufferable. But I'm almost starting to feel bad for them because every year you think this is going to be the year. And this year was, everyone's kind of got off that train of thought. So maybe you're thinking maybe they'll go under the radar. No, that's not happening. These guys are a mess.
Yeah, the Cowboys are never under any radar, regardless of whether they're good or bad.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just trying to give Nielsen the heebie-jeebies on all of his fantasy stock in CD Lamb now without Dak and man, without some help going forward. I'm really interested to see it. And the Philly that division, just for a second. I mean, I know Washington won. They blew the lead and then came back and actually won and covered. I thought Detroit, obviously Detroit held in and they had a nice backdoor cover, but the Eagles looked pretty good, as did Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. And then the Giants with maybe the upset of the entire week. I mean, I know the Chicago Bears beat San Fran. That was a weird game because of the conditions. But I'll tell you what, Brian Dable was all sorts of fired up afterwards. And that was a big win for the Giants. And what a start, speaking of fantasy, for Saquon Barkley, if you had him in your lineups.
Yeah, Brian Dable, obviously very familiar with his time with the Buffalo Bills. I'll be honest, there are some times where, you would go crazy because you just expected more with that Bills offense last year. But the way he calls a game, you cannot deny that he's a smart offensive mind. There'd be times where I'd be like, man, you just got to let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. But look at what happened near the end of the year. That offense finally came back to life. And, I know he's not there anymore, but look at, this offense. Obviously, his fingerprints are still all over that team. And sure, Danny Dimes is certainly not Josh Allen. And he showed that yesterday. But I think there's enough pieces on that offense and the way that, Brian Dable can call a game. They're a team that I think is going to be frisky. Are they making the playoffs? Probably not. Are they going to win that division? Definitely not. But I think they're going to be a team that's going to be much, much more improved. And you talk about that NFC least it normally is. It's much improved. And Dallas, they're waking up this morning, the only team in that division that doesn't have a win after week one.
Yeah, just more reason to panic, which is absolutely terrific. Patty,
I love it.
enjoy the Monday Nighter, buddy. Thanks a lot for popping by.
Absolutely, buddy. Take care, boys.
Pat.
That's Pat Gregoire from CoolBet. He's the manager for Canada over at CoolBet, joining us. And a little nervous about a game that we are both on, Huss. We hit the Thursday nighter. We were both on the same side. We were both on the total. And it's happening again here with the Denver Broncos and the Seattle Seahawks. And, Patty made an interesting point. The atmosphere in Seattle, they're going to want to go out and stick it to Russ. I get it. But for me, anytime I've thought about going the other way on this, it's Geno Smith. Like, I just keep coming back around to Geno Smith, and I can't get away from that. So for that reason, I'm on Denver. I'm on the minus the 6.5. I'll throw a sprinkle on Russ going off tonight as well, as mentioned on that plus 525. You can find over the Cool Bet exclusives right now. But just for the game and the spread, which has basically been the same all throughout the weekend, I'm on Denver minus 6.5 here.
Yeah, listen, I'm the same way. And I told you, you were on a bunch of the bigger numbers going in on Friday. And I said, This is one of those weird weeks where you think that these teams are great, but, often those teams don't end up covering. And I think a home underdog getting this points, like in most situations, I think I probably would be on the underdog. I would be on this home team. But I'm not backing Geno Smith on Monday Night Football in week 1 against Russell Wilson in his homecoming game. It is that simple. I've heard a lot of good things about the Seattle defense. We'll see about that. I expect good things from the Broncos offense. And let's not forget that we've seen what Josh Allen did on Thursday. We saw what Mahomes did yesterday. Chargers and Raiders in that divisional game both put up some big numbers. So I think the Broncos know that this is a game they have to have. Any of these games against the lower teams, if you're in that division, you need to win. And I also do think that Russ will be looking to have a big time performance with everybody watching. I'm going to lay the 6.5. I'll take Denver as the road favorite. And I'm also going to take the under 44. And this is as much a fate of Geno Smith. I do think Denver should be able to put up in the mid 20s. I'm not sure. I don't expect Seattle, to put up more than, 10, 13, 14 points, something like that. So even with a relatively low number for the total at 44, much like we took it in Thursday night, we're going to roll with under again, 44 for this game tonight between the Seahawks and Broncos.
Yeah, I'm on the under as well. And actually, one of our viewers right now, Greg979, he's tweeted at me as well. He just commented. He says, I've got $14,500 riding on the under tonight on a $1 14 game parlay, which he tweeted me his ticket. It's all under. It's all totals. All unders, I think 5 overs, and he's got 1 game left. He needs the under 44 tonight to hit 14,000 on a $1 bet. So,
Greg,
I like your chances, Greg. I like the under in this game. I'm with Huss on this one. I sense this game is, like 30-13, something along those lines. I honestly think that's what this game could end up being. So, if that hits, you're going to be sweating it a little bit, but you'll be under the 44 here. And I can't imagine working through the rest of the day knowing that you got 14 grand sitting on the under tonight.
Well, and of all things, like to have it be the under, so it's never over until it's over. You can win an over bet early on and know that it's done. But Greg, we're pulling for you tonight, man. That is absolutely incredible. A $1. Say it again. A 14 gamer $1 bet.
$1 bet. Yeah. 14 games. He's got basically every single game this week, and he picked a total, and they've hit. He's got one game left. So
Greg,
that's an all-timer.
Fire us the DM for some total selections for next week before we get to it with week 2.
He says he took the day off. See, and I would have kept working because now you're just pacing back and forth all day on this one. Right? God, I would have probably kept working. All right, what else do we got here, Us? We're both on Denver minus 6.5 from CFL to NFL. That's usually pretty good news. We're not going to get them all, but it's pretty good news. We're under the 44. I'm on Cortland Sutton, over 59.5 yards. I cannot be a Cortland Sutton fantasy football truther all summer long and then not get on this over tonight. So I'm on Cortland Sutton, over 59.5 yards. And I try to think how they're going to score a touchdown on the Seattle side of things. And I'm going to go to Rashad Penny, rushing TD, plus 125, maybe their only source of offense tonight. And Rashad Penny last year, we know he finished last year strong. Kenneth Walker has been banged up all week. I don't even know if he's playing yet. I've got to double check on that, but I know all week long he was questionable. So check on that. Either way, I like a Rashad Penny touchdown. He had 6 touchdowns in his last 6 games last year. So I'm on Rashad Penny with a touchdown tonight, anytime touchdown at plus 125.
Yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of a different angle on this one. I like the plus money at plus 130 on the Cortland Sutton touchdown, but I am with you. I think he's going to clearly be the Broncos' #1 receiver, and I think that Russell's going to be leaning on him right off the bat, get that connection with his top guy and try and get him into the end zone for pay dirt. So plus 130 on the Cortland Sutton TD. And again, we'll see what the Seattle defense looks like, but I was pretty bullish all offseason on Javonte Williams. He's going to be the guy in the backfield. I think, you might see a little bit of Melvin Gordon, but, the young second-year running back, I think, is poised to really become one of the more impactful running backs in the league. So I'll take him over 58.5 rushing yards as well for the Denver Broncos. And I think the way the game, listen, if the Broncos can get up and they're playing with the lead, I think that's even better for a young running back to get plenty of touches earlier on. So give me Cortland Sutton to get into the end zone. But for my yardage prop, I'm going to take the over 58.5 on Javonte Williams, Broncos running back.
There we go. That's your slate for Monday Night Football with the Lock Shop. Of course, our presenting sponsor, Cool Bet. Stay cool. Bet responsibly. Hush, you going to one of your watering holes for Monday Night Football, or are you going to come on over to my place and watch it with the kids tonight?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's a little bit of a far drive to pop over to your place, but we'll do that at some point as well. Yeah, I think there might be a little gathering with some of the fellas for the first Monday Nighter of the year. And then I'm looking forward to tomorrow's Lock Shop, Dusty, because this might be the most important fantasy show of the entire year, the Week 1 waiver wire.
Yeah, it's big.
We'll be going over the injuries, and we'll discuss, a little bit of strategy. If you're in a league with a free agent budget, how much you need to lay down to make sure you get your guy, because there are some teams and some situations where they definitely need you definitely need an ad in that backfield. Niners backfield is an issue right now. Najee Harris being out.
Yeah.
So we'll go over all of that and try and prioritize some guys to be getting off the waiver wire and getting your bids in as you try to bounce back from a potentially tough Week 1 of your fantasy season.
That'll do it for a Monday Night Football episode of the Lock Shop Fantasy Football Extravaganza coming your way on Tuesday evening. We'll get a CFL episode in on Wednesday and then right back into the National Football League as we work our way through Week 2. Huss, have a good time on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, buddy, and I will talk to you tomorrow night.
Enjoy the Monday Nighter.